Okay, so let's review this Leamington Half Marathon 2023, which is on the 25th of June. So quick backstory. Um, in 2019, January 2019, I made a New Year's resolution that I'd run a half marathon that year. And I hated running and was very, very bad at running. And I decided to train for it and give it a good go to do half a marathon. Like 10K felt too short and not a big enough goal for me to aim at, and a full marathon felt like too far. So I entered my local half marathon in Kenilworth here, which was on the 1st of September 2019. So I got like 8 full months to train for it. However, I started training straight away in the January, and within a few runs, I was starting to get pains in my right knee, my right hip, a bit in my left knee, and around my right Achilles and ankle. So really basically all that leg. And it kind of kept preventing me from training because I didn't want to, straight away I realised that if I ran a couple of days too close together, I was getting injured and then couldn't train again. So it ended up, in fact, that I just couldn't train at all. And then it got to sort of May, June, and I'd hardly trained at all. And I got an email offering for me to run in the Leamington Half Marathon, which is only another 6 miles down the road or something like that. And I thought, well, I'll enter that, see how I get on, and that will show me what I need to do to try and complete this Kenilworth Half Marathon in September. So basically it was 2 months before, just shy of 2 months before. So, oh yeah, the other thing about my goal was to do a half marathon without walking. So that's kind of quite important. So anyway, Leamington Half Marathon comes around in the 7th of July 2019, and here's the numbers here. I did it, and when I got to the start line, I had this change of idea. I was going to just do it and probably drop out, and it was kind of to show me what I needed to do to get into the Kenilworth one. And I got there to the start, and I was like, no, just do it, because the chances are actually you're going to get injured and not be able to do the Kenilworth one. So just do this one. Make this the one where you don't walk. And that was when I got to the start line. I felt it sort of, that emotional feeling. I was like, this is it, go for it. But just go as slow as you can without walking. So I did it, and I got round, and I've never, ever experienced so much pain voluntarily. I obviously have experienced that sort of pain when I've been involved in accidents or whatever, like when a dog bit straight through my lip, or when I pushed a chest tube through my hand, or what was the other one? Oh yeah, when I fell over the pencil in my mouth and it went through the roof of my mouth. But this was voluntary, and it wasn't far off those. So I got round, but my right hip was absolute agony, because I kind of like started protecting my right knee. Then my right ankle started hurting really bad, started protecting that, and it went up into the hip, and it was absolute agony. But anyway, I did it. I did not walk at all, and I did it in 2 hours, 45 minutes. And like, that was it. I'd achieved my goal. And then I went on to do the Kenilworth one the 2 months later, but I decided to sort of run and walk around that and try and be a bit more careful. And I was actually almost did the same time. I was like 2 minutes slower, but I actually felt way better when I finished. Like the first one, I didn't run between the two, I don't think, because I'd injured myself so much. I was in so much pain after that one. It took me ages to recover. It took me an hour to walk to my car, which was literally 400 meters away. Got a great parking spot. But yeah, I was totally like knackered from that one. Did the Kenilworth one, walked, didn't, I'd done my New Year's resolution, so I walked around that one, and was a little bit slower. Then it took me 2 years to do another one. So then I just moved away from running. It was obviously not for me, so much pain and whatever. And sort of 2 years later, we'd had the lockdowns and stuff. And I've been doing quite a bit of walking and other sorts of exercise like weightlifting and stuff. And I decided to have another go at one. So I entered my local half marathon again here on the 12th of September 2021, and tried to train for it, but I was getting injured again. And at the time, I didn't understand that there was like a kind of structural problem. But I did it, and did it in 2 hours 50, so I was slower again. I ran, walked, probably went out a bit too fast in that one. but I kind of knew what to expect, run walking it. And yeah, I was just happy to get round. But anyway, that was probably the start of me getting the bug for this and wanting to sort it out, because I was like starting to think, well, you know, I'm 50, what was I then, 50, 51, starting to think, how is this going to plague me? What is going on? And how am I going to end up in older age? So what happened was my daughter was actually seeing a podiatrist because she'd had a problem with her ankle. And I asked him if he had any idea why I was just getting injured so much. And I'd been looking into different things. And the funny thing was, I thought I'd got flat feet. So I got some insoles just off, from a supermarket to try and help flat feet. But it wasn't helping. In fact, it's probably making things worse. So I asked this podiatrist while he had been looking after my daughter. I said something to him and he said, oh, let's have a look. So I took my shoes and socks off and rolled my trousers up and had a look. And he said, oh, you've got quite a leg imbalance. Your right leg is longer than your left leg. And I said, oh, well, I thought I'd got flat feet. And he goes, no, you've got one flat foot and one raised arch. So what happened is, because my legs were a different length, my right leg had caved in to make it so that my back and pelvis stayed level. It had caved in slightly inwards towards the left leg, which had made the foot go flat, and the left foot had raised up on its arch to try and level up this imbalance. See? So then we did some gait analysis and stuff like that. So I bought some appointments with him or whatever, and he had some special orthotic insoles made for me. So the one makes up the leg imbalance. So my left foot is raised up slightly, complete left foot, to make up the leg imbalance, or most of the leg imbalance. He said doing all of it would be no good. And then the right insole has got an arch in it to sort of sort out the flat foot, because what was happening was my foot was caving in and it was making my knee turn inwards and cave in as well. So this whole thing was happening down my leg. So then, as he said, because I'd started doing some longer distance exercise and running, he was like, you may never have found this out about yourself if you'd not done this running. So anyway, we got that sorted, and then I had to go through a really slow rehab process. So I had like laser surgery. I think it was 6 or 10 bouts of laser surgery on my Achilles, my Achilles and my calf, because of the pain that was there, and trying to rebuild it in a straight range of motion now, because mine had been used to working in this angled range of motion and twisted inwards slightly. So, and I'm still going through that process. So that was sort of, I think I've got those insoles in April 2022. So it's been just over a year now. Right, enough of that. So then in September 2022, I did this half marathon. So I did the Kenilworth one again, but my physio, I was doing my rehab. My physio had said that he didn't think it was a great idea for me to do it. But I said, look, the cut-off time is 3 hours. I'm just going to walk loads of it and just make sure I get round. And he was like, oh, okay then. But you know what it's like. Most people, when they go into these events, they get a bit excited and go off a bit faster. And I knew that well because I'd done that the last one I'd done. I went off way too fast for me. So I went round that in 2 hours, 59:41. So I absolutely paced it to perfection. 3 hours was the maximum. And I got round. I'd been doing some rehab and building my legs up and leg mobility. And I was like really chuffed that I'd, paced myself and not gone too fast and got round in the allotted time. And when I finished, I felt fantastic. My calves hurt a lot. I was in pain, but it felt like the sort of pain a non-injured runner would feel. So that was that. And then I carried on like training and doing the mobility. And I'd got the bug now because I thought was actually getting quite emotional about it, because I was like, I've always loved sport, but I've always had this problem with running. And I was like, well, I could actually quite get into running. Maybe if I can use these insoles to sort it out. So this year I did the Warwick Half Marathon on the 5th of February. Again, tried to get myself round. But I knew I could go faster. I aimed for 2 hours 45. I kind of paced myself for that and did 2 hours 44:06. And then we come to this half marathon, the Leamington half marathon. So before I tell you what time I did, I'm going to share the video from 5K. So this is the start. So let me tell you a little bit about my plan for these races. So when I do a half marathon, which is 13.1 miles or 21k, I am using heart rate to determine my pace. I'm not using a timed pace because I know that if I run with heart rate now, I've got the best chance of getting round with the least chance of getting injured and actually getting round without totally wrecking myself. So what I do is the first half of the race, I set don't use my watch in a race. Don't use an alert in the race, but I'd set it so that I'm running between 125 beats per minute heart rate and 140 beats per minute heart rate. So when I reach 140, I'll stop running and walk until it drops down to 125, and then I'll start running again until it gets up to 140. Because I'm not fit enough or efficient at running enough yet to be able to keep my heart rate in those zones whilst like slow running. So I have to still run, walk. And then once I get to the sort of halfway stage, if I'm feeling really good, I'm going to up that by 10 beats. So go up to 150 as the top of the range and 135 as the bottom of the range. And it, like in the Warwick half marathon, I felt really good with, I think, 4k to go. So I upped that by another 10 or maybe 5 to see how that went, and then 10 for the last, up to 160 for the last couple of k, which is actually downhill in the Warwick half marathon. So that was quite nice. But yeah, so that's how I was keeping myself or pacing myself. I was actually using heart rate. Right, so in Garmin here, I've got lap average pace, heart rate, run cadence and elevation. Don't really need the bottom two so much, but heart rate is how I'm running. So here I'm just showing the first 5k. And let's just hear what I said at 5k.
About a quarter of the way in. I feel super strong, man. Struggling to keep in my heart rate zone. I think because of the heat. I do feel really strong. I've got to be careful I don't push actually, because I'm feeling good, but pace is 7:22 minutes per kilometre, which is faster than PB time. Let's go.
Yeah, so felt really good then. It was starting to warm up. It was a mega hot day. It was during the heat wave. It was kind of the last day of it as well. I've been watching the weather forecast all week, hoping that it would cool down, which kind of meant that I didn't expect to get as good a time as I felt I might be able to get from my training. But anyway, so I felt really good at 5k. I was at 36 minutes 48, so I was going at like 7 minutes 20 seconds, something like that per kilometre, which was definitely already quicker than personal best pace for me. And the thing was, I thought, depending what happened with the heat, I'd be able to up that pace a little bit anyways after I got past halfway and allowed my heart rate to go up. So let's see what I said at 10k.
Oh, about halfway, 10.4k. Going okay. Pace is 7:30. I think my personal best pace is 7:47 or 7:53, I can't remember. I'm feeling okay, but my Achilles is sore and it's getting bloody hot. But I think I can up there by 10, so that's it. Halfway.
So at 10k, I was still going at 7 minutes 30 seconds per kilometre. So I had actually slowed down a bit, but I felt pretty good, but it was getting really hot. And it was hard to get any shade. Like, it was out in the countryside, but it was like low hedges most of the time on the way around, so it's pretty hard to get any shade. And it's quite hilly as well, like not mega hilly, but it's quite hilly. And honestly, it felt like it was a lot of uphill, and that's because the first 5k pretty well was uphill actually, and then you get like a quick downhill, and then you're going uphill again over a longer period of time, so it's like hard to take advantage of the downhills. But yeah, I was feeling pretty good, and was okay at sort of 11k, I think it was, to put that heart rate up, as I say, by 10. So I went up to 150s, and we're still going at 7 minutes 30-ish seconds per kilometre. So I felt like as long as I kept okay, I would beat my previous 2 hours 44. So let's see what I said at 15k mark.
5k to go. And at 7 minutes 33 a kilometre, just had my 2 slowest kilometres. I'm struggling a bit, like calf, Achilles hurting. It's bloody hot, but just under 5k should be my best.
So that was actually about 16k. So I'd gone up, crept above 7 minutes 30 seconds per kilometre, and I was actually starting to feel not like a serious amount of pain, but it was niggling. And obviously I spend more time protecting my right leg than anything else, because I want to continue this journey. Like, I want to actually get half decent at running. I want to be able to do a marathon one day and then maybe a 50-miler one day. Like, my ultimate goal would be to be so fit and strong that I could do a 100-mile ultra marathon. But so when there's pain starts coming, and it was again, like, I know it now, it's like in my Achilles, in my calf, maybe in my knee, sometimes in my hip, and it's all mostly trying to protect it. It was coming then at 16k, and I just had my slowest 2 kilometers. So like, I think I'd put in an 8-minute kilometer and like a 7:47 or something like that. So I was a little bit like wary of what was going to happen, and I decided not to up to that 160 beats per minute and to just go at the same pace and make sure I got round okay. It was kind of like at the point where I completely forgot about any times or anything. I was already pretty sure it'd be a personal best anyway, but I didn't start thinking, you know, I'd got an eye on my pace all the way around, but it was like, okay, I'm going to get slower. Whereas in the White Half Marathon, I actually got quicker and quicker as the race went on, as I let my heart rate go up. But this one, I decided, this was the point where I decided, no, I've got to make sure I get round. So I kind of kept it, but I kept it that 150 maximum. I didn't drop it down. So, yeah, so I don't think I made another video after that other than showing my medal. So let's go to the end. So yeah, I finished in, let's have a look at the whole thing. I finished in 2 hours 38, 15 minutes, which was a new personal best for me by like 6 minutes and something. And I was like, to be honest, I was absolutely thrilled with that. And I wasn't really in any more pain than I was at the 16-kilometer mark. I'd nursed myself home and kept that pace going at 7:30 kilometers. You know, I had the 2 slowest kilometers at 15 and 16, or 14 and 15 kilometers. No, 15 and 16. But it actually got better after that. If we look at the lap average pace here, let's just move that up. Like, there's the 8:07, which is the 15th kilometer, and a 7:40. Oh, that's right. An 8:07 and a 7:41, which are 2 of the slower ones. But I actually thought I picked it out at a 7:14 there. And then actually at the end, it was quite funny because it was a slightly different finish to when I'd done the Leamington half marathon, which was 4 years earlier. So I was like, this doesn't look right, because it looked to me as I was coming towards the finish that there was less distance to go than what there would have been if we'd have gone the way we did before. So I felt like I could up the pace, but I thought, no, if I get there and I do have to go around that loop that we did the time I did it before, I'm going to run out. So I had to sort of wait, and then we came around the corner into sort of Leamington onto the parade there. And I actually felt really good and did accelerate quite a bit at the end, actually, and finished feeling strong. You know, both my calves cramped up pretty quickly once I'd stopped. But I finished really, really strong. I was really pleased with how it went after that 16th kilometre. And yeah, pace 7:30, really, really chuffed with that, especially in the heat. Fastest by 6 minutes, as I said. And I will definitely do that one again. It's definitely a hard one. Looking at the elevation there, I think this start, it just goes uphill and uphill for like the first 5 kilometres. And I think, you know, there are a lot of people saying how hilly it was. I think it's because of that. It's hard, and it was so hot, obviously, but it makes it feel hard because people tend to set off fast, and it takes it out of you. Now, if you look from there to the end, it's like way lower. So once that bit's over with, not so bad. But what it felt like was like the downhills were like quick, and then it was a long trudge uphill. That downhill, I don't even remember that, to be honest, but that's obviously why I was feeling pretty good at 10k. But then it was pretty flat after that, and really nice out in the countryside. Like, highly recommend doing it. I don't know if it's a sort of run where you're going to smash your personal best sort of thing, but maybe. I don't really know much about that sort of thing. Yeah, but I got in, and then I'm booked in for the Kenilworth Half Marathon, which is like September the 10th, I think. So that was like a what have we got? June, July, August, like a 10-week gap. So I've registered for a 10k in Solihull in between, which is like the Sunday in August, which is about the 10th, I think, or the 12th. Yes, the 13th of August. And just to keep me motivated almost, or something to focus on that's not too long away. And I won't be doing anything particularly different. I do lots of this zone 2 running, so I can get as many miles in as possible without getting injured again. So I like to do lots of low intensity running. I say lots of, for me. And I'm now starting to be able to run 3 times a week maybe. And I do a couple of walks a week, and it's just going really well. I have to still really nurse my leg. It's still building up. It's still getting it stronger. It's hard work. It's actually, a lot of the hard work is forcing myself to not do too much, which is really funny, because that's like the scourge of being a 52-year-old. Like, when I was 22, you'd just go off bombing it and to hell with it. But now it's really a case of nurturing it, stretching, and like the discipline of having to do that is turning out to be the hardest part of it. Not the going out and running, the actual making myself not go out and running and doing the strength work, mobility work, and the stretching. But yeah, it's going really well. The next 2, this 10k, that'll be like a fun run for me, like just see where I'm at. And then the next half marathon, like, it all depends on the heat on the day. Kenilworth Half Marathon, like, is quite a nice run. I don't sort of, like, it's hilly, but I don't remember it being a massive struggle. So if the weather's right, I'd kind of like to think I might be able to do a 2:30 if I keep improving at the rate I have been. And it is going well. Like, it's already like nearly a week and a half since that half marathon. I already feel like I've improved because of that run. So yeah, hopefully keep improving. Hopefully I can stay without any major injuries and just nurse myself through it and keep going. Hope you enjoyed that. Give us a like, give us a sub,